Whenever you're ready.
All right, so I'm Blake Alberts, and this is Everyday Use, and I'm focused on characterization of the story Everyday Use. The story overview, just give you a brief summary of what actually happened in the story. There's 4 characters in the story, Dee, Mama, and Maggie, and as well as Dee's boyfriend, and I really don't know how to pronounce his name. I like to just joke around and just say it's Alakazam or something like that, just because it's so hard to pronounce. But Mama and Maggie lived together in this old not abandoned, but shack, because their house actually burnt down to the ground, and they had to find another place to live. So they live in this old metal shack type place with rawhide as the roof, things of that nature. So it's worn down, beat up little place that they live in just to get by. Mama is your classic character of working real hard, type of the man of the house, but she's really the woman of the house as well. She works really hard. She has like rough hands, things of that nature. Maggie is the youngest daughter of the 2 daughters of Dee and Maggie. Maggie actually got injured in the fire incident of their last house. So when in this fire incident, Maggie got burned. She's got burn scars from her arm all the way down to her one leg, and her hair is kind of scattered and matted from the fire. So she doesn't have the best looks, and she's kind of shy and ashamed of how she looks from the fire. Dee is the independent daughter of the 2. She's well developed, is what it says in the story. She's very good looking, she's confident, she's smart. She always wants to climb the social ladder. And in the story, Dee comes back to visit her mother and Maggie just to say hi and introduce them to her boyfriend or husband, doesn't specify what Alakazam really is in the story. But they come back and visit just to say hi, see how they're doing, and eat dinner. And during dinner, you can see that Dee, or she goes by Wanjiro after she comes back from school because she feels like she doesn't like the name Dee. She talks her mother up, gives her compliments about how nice the place is, how good the food is. And afterwards, after dinner, they actually are sitting down relaxing, and Dee goes up to her mother's room to look for quilts. And these quilts are family heirlooms, basically. Her grandmother, Grandma Dee, made these quilts from hand, and it wasn't stitched on the outside, so the fabric was made out of her dress, other blouses that her grandmother would make or wear. So she made it out of those. So it's like those quilts are very precious to Mama because that shows her family heritage, which she's very proud of. And Dee grabs these, or Wanjiro grabs these quilts and comes downstairs and says, "Hey, Mom, can I have these?" And all you hear is a drop of the glass because Maggie's doing dishes, and she just runs to her room and slams the door because she's upset. Mama actually promised these quilts for Maggie, so when she gets married to her husband one day, she'll be able to have these to sleep with or whatever she might use them for. And Mama specified that to Dee when she came back home, and Dee was outraged when she found out that Maggie was going to have these quilts. And Dee explained that she wasn't going to take really good care of them, she was just going to use them and not actually appreciate what they are as a work of art in Dee's eyes. But Mama didn't really care for the work of art part of it. It's supposed to be used, that's why they were made. So she wanted to promise those to Maggie and ended up giving them to Maggie, just showing the appreciation of, I promised these to Maggie, I'm going to give them to her because a promise is a promise. I'm going to keep that promise for my youngest daughter. Dee was outraged nonetheless. She kind of stormed off and left. But Maggie came back out of the room almost to the happy ending point where Mom and Maggie were connecting as mother and daughter just because Mama promised these quilts and Maggie ended up with the quilts. Now I'm going to go talk about the actual characters themselves and the characterization of them. From reading the story, I'm going to go talk about Mama first. And in this picture right here, Mama is the large woman on the right. In the story itself, it says that she's a very big-boned woman, working real hard, like I said, the man figure of the house as well as the woman figure. She used to enjoy like working on the farm, doing the dirty work, and it also expresses in the story how she loves how to milk cows until she gets hooked. She enjoyed that more than the girly stuff or the stereotypical girly things to do back in that day and age. So Dee and Mama are very different in that way, just because Mama is so hardworking and Dee is intelligent, wants to climb the social ladder. But from the references I have, Mama is more of a round, dynamic character from when I read the story, as well as looking at the resources that I looked at, and you'll see the reference page back later. But Mama is more round and dynamic. She's always changing just because of her two daughters. She needs to be, how do I try to say this? She tries to be well-rounded with her daughters, be able to take care of them and relate to both of them, because she obviously loves both of the daughters. But not only is Mama round and dynamic, Dee is round and dynamic as well, because she's always changing. She grew up the prettier sister of the two. She always wanted to climb the social ladder, like I said several times. She went to school, she was intelligent, she was beautiful. She had all the qualities that Maggie envied and did not have herself. Going to Maggie, Maggie's the one character that I was talking about out of the three, is a flat character, where she doesn't really change. She's the same the whole time. Where she shows little glimpses of emotionability later in the story when she's excited and happy when she gets the quilts finally from her mother. But at the end of the day, she's still shy, she's still quiet, she buries her feet into the sand, it says in the story. She puts her head down and doesn't really like to talk to anyone. Alex, the boyfriend of Dee, actually goes to shake her hand and she shies away from it. She's scared. She doesn't really want to be socializing at all the time. And the one characteristic of Maggie that's not shy is that she's envious of her sister, because her sister has all these qualities that she doesn't. And it was unfortunate that she got burned in the fire while Dee, her sister, was actually outside just watching the house burn. She kind of just sat there waiting for Mama and Maggie to get out, and she was happy that the house burned down because she didn't actually like the house. So Maggie is, in a sense, the protagonist of the story, but not Maggie, but Dee is the protagonist of the story, where she's always wanting to get what she wants, and no one says usually no to her. But at this irony part of the story, Mom actually tells her no because Maggie gets the quilts. So just to wrap up, we talked about Mama, Maggie, and Dee, about how Mama's the round and dynamic as well as Dee are round and dynamic characters. Dee is the protagonist of the story, being able to get what she wants all the time. They also want to climb the social ladder. Mom's well-rounded just because she wants to be able to take care of both of her daughters and relate to both of their daughters. Maggie's the flat character of the story. Overall, I thought the story was very interesting. You've got to be able to know your heritage, your family heritage, and that's what Mama does with these quilts, and she appreciates them, but as well she wants them to be used, because that's the type of character that Mama is. And at the end of the day, she knows Maggie's going to put them in better use than Dee would ever. So that is my presentation, and these are my references.